your story about Paul Ryan, and great. Now, Fred, about how old are you?
I'm 85.
85 years young. And,
Yep.
And Fred, how long have you lived in the state of Wisconsin?
37 years.
37 years. So you've seen a lot of things up there.
Well, yeah, my mother's family homestead was in Slinger, Wisconsin.
I see. And Fred, the reason we're having this discussion here is regarding Paul Ryan, because I know that you had shared with me that that your long history with Paul. Would you, in your own words, would you like to share that with me now?
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to Paul every time he's been around the area, Paddock Lake, Twin Lakes, Kenosha County, anywhere in the area here, and many conversations. And I started out meeting Paul for the first time before he became a politician. He was running for Congress from our district, a young guy, and I liked what he had to say, and I gave him some of my old time philosophy. I told Paul, if you get elected, I would like it if you'd done me a big favor and became a statesman, not a politician. He assured me that that would never be any part of him. He was going to do what was best for the constituents of his in the 2nd District in Wisconsin. I think he's absolutely failed us.
I see, and can you tell me why?
Well, I gave him my idea about Social Security and how it can be saved. At the time that we talked, the cap on Social Security was at $106,000 before the cap was taken off. So ordinary working people making under $106,000 paid in on every penny they made. After $106,000, you didn't pay. So if you were working and making $100,000 and you paid in to Social Security on $100,000, you paid in on every penny you made. If you made $1 million, you only paid in on 10% of your income, not on 100% of your income. And I thought that was unfair. I told Paul we should take the cap off Social Security, and America pays in on every penny that they earn. And when it comes time to get Social Security benefits, we have a means test. And if you have earned $300 million in the course of your life, as a lot of professional sport figures, a lot of people on Wall Street, a lot of people, business people that making fortunes, if they paid in on $300 million and had assets of $200 million when retirement age came, they would not get a check. If they paid in on $300 million and lost all their money, they would get a decent check. He thought that would be unfair. And I said, I don't know why you would think that would be unfair for rich Americans to help poor Americans so we could keep Social Security viable for people in their old age.
Mm-hmm.
And I also gave him my ideas about this government we live under from its people. And the way the economy is in America today, we cannot afford the government that we are living under. He said to me, Fred, you got real good ideas, and these are his exact words. Not my words, but his exact words. He said, Fred, you have real good ideas, but who do you think wants to give up this cushy job we got? That was his answer to me. And I've been disappointed in him since. Not since he's become the vice presidential candidate, since the fact that he thinks it's unfair for rich Americans to help poor Americans. We Americans have helped countries and people all over the world with foreign aid. Our Marshall Plan after World War II towards Europe rebuilt Europe after the war. And in the meantime, what we've done, we've let all the rest of the countries that applied for foreign aid from America rise above the heap, while we had our highways, our school systems, our waterways all become less than what they should be. Well, I think Paul Ryan, to me, as a young guy, when I first met him, I thought he was a farm kid that worked on the farm in Janesville, and I thought that he was more or less the same kind of youth as myself when I grew up on the farm in Slinger, Wisconsin. But I find out now when I see that he has a home with 8 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, I don't think he has any real close connection with what ordinary Americans are all about. He appears to me to be more of an elitist, like his running mate, Mr. Romney. That's just my simple opinion as an 85-year-old American. And I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an American. In 2000, I voted for George Bush because I thought he was smarter than Al Gore. That was the reason. In 2004, I voted for John Kerry because I thought that John Kerry was going to do a better job than George Bush, and George Bush got a second term. In 2008, I voted for Barack Obama, but I also have voted all these times, 7 times, for Paul Ryan, who's a Republican. My votes are not based on party affiliation. My votes are based on what people tell me and the opinion I make of them. And the opinion I made of Paul was that he was a decent young man going to go to Washington and do a job for the people he represented. And now I got the feeling that he ain't representing me or any of the other people in this district that he is now elected from. He's representing special interests. He's representing the people that are controlling our economy and our government, and we wind up with a country where we have government of, by, and for the few instead of, by, and for the people. It's a shame. It's a shame what's happened to the country I love. Mm-hmm. And a little sidelight, me and my 3 brothers, there's 4 of us, all served our country. I don't know if Mr. Romney has ever served, but when he says that if he gets elected, Iran will never have a nuclear device, does he want to go to war against Iran? I don't know if Mr. Romney has served, but I just wonder if any of his sons would be serving in one of them wars.
I see. And you were telling me a story about Paul coming to one of the town hall meetings that you attended recently, right after he proposed his budget program. Can you elaborate a little bit on what happened at that meeting?
Pardon?
I said you had told me a story about Paul coming to the Kenosha area, and he was doing town hall meetings all over his district after he had presented his budget proposal. And what happened at these meetings?
Well, at the meeting in Paddock Lake that I attended, that was a full house where ordinarily 5 or 6 people, sometimes as little as 3, would show up when he'd come around on a regular basis. From there, with his proposals for the change in what he thinks ought to be done in our country with the economy, he went into Kenosha, and he had to be escorted out the back door and whisked away to safety because Kenosha a union factory town has lost the automobile business. It has lost Snap-on tools. It has lost white welding. It has lost the American brass. And as a result, the people who were working people and middle-class working people have lost the jobs that had decent wages, and we are now relegated to a community where the best jobs around are like fast food restaurants where you're making minimum wage or maybe $1 or $2 over minimum wage.
Fred, you had mentioned a moment ago that that you served in the military, and you did that during World War II?
That was in World War II, yep.
I see.
I served in the Philippines, and my brother Jim, who I followed, my brother Jim was in the service in 1939, and he was with Illinois' 33rd Division, 108 Combat Engineers. I followed my brother into the Philippines with the Army Signal Corps, the 4025th Signal Service Group. I worked as a body and fender man all my life. Well, that's one of the things that I find wrong with this Romney Ryan ticket that the Republican Party has put up, and that is that when questioned about hardworking middle-class American making $50,000 a year and paying roughly 28% in income taxes, if Mr. Romney thought that that was fair when he only pays an average of between 10 and 14% on his income tax, and Mr. Romney said, oh, he thought there was nothing wrong with that at all because he helps the economy. Well, I don't know. An ordinary working man making $50,000 pays 28%, and Mr. Romney pays half that amount. He pays 14%. I don't know how that is fair and what that does for the economy except for his own personal economy. Mr. Romney has said in statements that he has shown us as Americans that he has earned in the last two taxable years, 2010 and 2011, he's earned $42 million in them 2 years. That's $21 million a year under the Obama administration. I don't know how he could find fault with that. Well, I think as an American, if he's really an American, I think that he ought to say, if I lose this election to Mr. Obama, I am willing to come forward and create the 12 million jobs that I have openly stated to the American people that I can create. That's $3 million jobs a year for 4 years. That he ought to do that as an American. Help our country if he's so good at creating jobs. I know I'm old and my thoughts and my ideas maybe are kind of old-fashioned, but I like the idea that we got over the color line and we put a black man in the White House in America. Well, that last election was the first time a man of colored skin became the president of the United States. Now, in this election, if Mr. Romney should happen to win, it would be the first time we have a man in the White House as president that hides his money offshore and in Swiss bank accounts. I wish he would explain that to me, why that is. What is the reason for it? See, my background as a young man was a little bit different than Mr. Romney's, I'm sure. But I did know people of ill repute, and all the money that they got that was gotten under false pretenses or illegally, they were hiding it offshore. Is he ashamed of putting his money in American banks for the American people who he's asking for their vote, where they keep their money? We keep our money in American banks. How come isn't hell? I don't know. I'm just concerned about stuff like that. Well, thank you, and thanks for your time.